I'm here with a Vegas Eternal, just 72 hours pretty much before the Pro Am starts. And it's an interesting time for sure, not least for you guys. I think you've been in the news maybe for different reasons, but we'll get to those as well. But I was tipped off in a very peculiar way because I felt, okay, let's learn something from these team interviews from last time I interviewed the Toronto Defiant. So I thought, let's open with a soft question. I have no idea where this goes. I just took the keyword for absolutely no particular reason. Who can stack the most Coke cans on their table and who does so frequently?
Yeah.
Definitely
Oh,
Malfa.
We all
that'd
know.
be me. That'd be me.
I thought it was talent.
I'm a known stimulant abuser, so it's definitely me on that.
Just
I
regular
stack them all
Coke?
up. Diet, has to be diet. Yeah, diet.
We had a huge pyramid in Dallas, like a giant pyramid. It just fell.
Wait,
Red
like
Bull,
individual
Coke.
pyramid, or was it like a big
It was just
pyramid
like
of everyone?
huge triangle.
Okay.
We saw the picture of
no one
Malthus
knows
Ness.
that. No one knows this, but that picture is kind of set up. I got everyone's Red Bull. I got everyone's Coke. I got everyone's Pepsi, and just stacked it up on my desk. So I didn't drink all that. It was just like
Sure,
set up.
Most of it.
sure.
Most
How
of it.
many of them are
it,
lit?
like 88% of it I drank.
What's your average day consumption like?
Honestly, I was taking too much, and I was like getting headaches and stuff, so I had to like lay off. So like right now, like 0 right now. Like for the past 2 days, like 0, like nothing, no caffeine, no Coke, no Diet Coke, any of that. I'd say like 100 a day is like a rough average. So like I gotta keep it light. I gotta.
100 a day?
100 Red
Coke?
Bulls.
100 caffeine.
Oh my
Coke?
gosh.
Diet Coke,
Yeah.
I haven't drank any since I was like at the team house. Like there's literally none. Because like I don't have access to like go to 7-Eleven with the boys and get some Diet Coke. But yeah, it's been a long while since I had some Diet Coke.
For sure. Now let's get into some Overwatch talk because I mean, as a core, you've been like around each other for a while, but also like late last season, at least the core came together in a pretty challenging environment, considering like there was some exclusivity to all players being able to access the game while everyone else wasn't. Felt like you guys sort of started behind on the game. Did that set you back a lot? Who wants to take this one? Dove.
It set me back quite a bit, like at the start, just because like I grind ranked all the time, so it just relying on scrims only is difficult.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like even when we got access with joining Paris, like to Overwatch 2 and we scrim and stuff, I'd scrim all day and then just be like, all right, time to go play Overwatch 1. And like our first couple scrims, like we were shooting like the doomed of blocks, like we didn't know what they did, and like the other team had to say, hey, stop shooting them, because like we just didn't know like some basic mechanics.
Oh, that was really funny. I think that was before you guys had moved over to Paris. I remember that scrim. It was really funny.
Yeah.
It was nice of him to bring
notorious
up.
for that.
I didn't even play the game. Like during when Overwatch 2 came out, like in May, March, all that, I kind of like dipped. I ran track in high school my senior year because I just wanted to do it. And then I joined like Odyssey like last second for Contenders, and then just that was my first experience with Overwatch 2 was that Genji meta with Jokes, like Junker Queen meta. So before that, I had no experience coming into the season.
Do you
I
guys
didn't even know Zarya had 2 bubbles, so yeah, like I didn't know anything.
Yeah. Do you guys feel there's still some residual, something left where you still are a little bit behind in terms of like catching up and like learning all the mechanics, feeling them more so than knowing them? Or because we know like from the past, even some really heavy hitters, if they took like a year timeout, it took a long time for them to, reallocate to the game. I would argue like even someone like Padapan probably didn't hit the road immediately as he, later on maybe did, and arguably hasn't played as he did during his time in Contenders. So do you guys still feel that impact?
Yeah, I play a lot of rank to make up for it, but it is a little hard to feel like you're always playing catch up. But I think Especially, I mean, we started playing a little bit earlier after the season ended because we are trying to catch up. You know, we're scrimming more, just playing the game a lot. It's always a game to catch up. It feels like.
For sure. I mean, that, yeah.
Personally, for me, like it felt like I caught up. Like once the season ended and I started grinding rank during the off season, like it felt like I like caught up with like the mechanics and stuff like that, like understanding the heroes. So it feels like we're caught up like with the mechanics and understanding like Overwatch 2 as a whole. But, like as a team, we're still like catching up to the other teams.
For sure, yeah. I feel like that's one particular demon you guys all had to fight, sort of like the systemic thing, like you didn't have access to the game. Were there any particular ones, like personal ones, that you had to overcome, like during last season? Because I would imagine, and I think that's very often the case, if you come from Contenders, especially like if you were good enough to make OWL, you're winning a ton, right? And then you're getting into a new environment. Now you have to deal with losses more, right? Is that something that you guys had to get over, like the mental aspect of it?
Definitely going from like first, second every single season to like just not having that right away. It's just like a little definitely it's hard. I mean, you get through it. So I think we overcame it enough.
It was definitely like mentally damaging, just like coming in, you know. I personally thought like, you know, we can get 1 to 2 wins, you know, and then like just getting our like shit kicked in is just like, damn, it put us deep in like this like trench. It's like, oh, we're gonna lose again, we're gonna lose again. But I think we're climbing out of that hole for next season. I think we definitely are.
I mean, last season especially, it was like even if we won, like it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but you know what I mean. We couldn't qualify for anything unless we were really like winning everything. So it's just demotivating.
It's also pretty hard to come in like a bunch of rookies just because OWL is so much different in the way that they play. Like what it takes to dominate Contenders is not the same as it takes to like win an OWL. And a lot of like rookies also join teams with more veteran players that can like help them adjust. But then everybody doing that on their own or like not having that veteran presence is a little bit difficult.
I think that's a really good point, Doug. I think because everyone is like brand spanking new and coming into it, it's there is definitely like the gap that you have to close in terms of just, I mean, you know, like the pace, right? So I agree with that.
What else is different? Like I imagine, okay, I think fans have like this idea. It's like it's all mechanics, right? That's what's like everyone's just like leveled up from Contenders, and that's really the difference maker. Is that really that hits you in the face, or is it the coordination of other teams, or the particular thing that you notice?
I think
me,
it's
it's like-
everything.
Coordination.
Yeah.
Everything.
Coordination.
Less on mechanics, but the coordination for sure. Like, it doesn't matter if you have better mechanics if you're always in a 2v1 or in a 1v2. So,
Like for
Yeah, I
instance,
think
what does it feel
think the
like
mechanics are
playing
pretty
against
close.
Dallas?
like, they just go first. You just get run over. There's nothing to shoot. They're all taking aggro at the same exact time. So, you just can't choose. You can't make a decision.
they like download you. Like you win like on Nepal when we played them, like we won the first fight. We were like, damn, we're winning. And then like they just downloaded us. They had better ults, better everything, better tempo, and I was like, damn. And we just couldn't get back in control. So like good teams like download you and like they like I don't want to say like download your style, but they just like take control over the game. Like in everything they do, they just take control. You just can never take it back if you don't know what to do.
Sure. Now, one interesting thing, like of course, sort of as this thing to keep up with scrim bugs, I noticed you guys were probably one of the earlier teams to start scrimming, right? When was it? When did you guys like first really congregate and try to get the first practice in?
January 16th, I think that's around when we started scrimming, if I remember correctly.
All right.
Somewhere in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pretty
Makes
much started
sense.
scrimming once we got our roster stuff down. We just went straight into it. You know, we're playing catch up.
I mean, presumably, like a lot of teams are scrimming in Korea. Like a lot of the Western rosters hadn't started scrimming yet. Who do you scrim against?
I think for the first couple weeks, I mean, for like a whole month, like our teams weren't scrimming. Most our teams started like mid-February. So we sometimes scrim Toronto. They were really scrimming for fun, I heard. And then we scrimmed a lot of Contenders teams because they were actually like, practicing for some out tryouts or just for Contenders in general. So I think those were the rosters we scrimmed the most.
Makes sense. Now, like looking at your guys' Liquipedia pages is like, it's a web of how you guys played with each other at different points in time. Usually, like, it converged a little bit more on Odyssey, but generally speaking, like, you guys have been around each other in some capacity. I'm interested because we hear from other teams, like sometimes players will ask to play with certain players, or a coach has wishes, or the GM values, having a core identity here or something. Like, what is your general sense? Did you guys recommend each other? Did you already have a friendship going? Like, what's the foundation here?
Want me to go from the very start?
I guess, yeah, Dove, take it. Dove was a different time than us.
Well, like, it started, like, originally with, not completely originally, but, like, for our core, it was me, Vulcan, and Rhino. And we had Dynasty at the time. And then he was getting tryouts for a team run by gods, and he decided to join that instead. But we were also running trials for our backline, and since Dynasty was leaving, Malto was the next best choice. Or not, you know what I mean. He was the next guy.
Ooh. Malthol, second
What?
best.
Second
like,
best?
You should have
like,
expected that,
fucking-
Malthol.
He was gonna be on the team because he ran the team too. But Malto was also like a really good option, like during that time.
This was back in Contenders a long
Yeah.
time ago. I don't even know the
Blackbird,
year.
Double Shield.
Yeah,
2020.
it was pre. Yeah, I wasn't even a part of
That's when
Odyssey
it
at
was
that point in
Blackbird,
time.
Genji, meta.
The double shield meta. Oh man,
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah, so that was basically where this core started.
Yeah.
And then, like, how did it all converge then on the Eternal?
So I think that year, like the double shield year, was the year after when I joined you guys, or no? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was after
Like,
that.
okay, so the following year, it was when I joined, and I think we pretty much had the same roster, no? It was like
Think
we
so.
had at one point we had something ridiculous, like nine players. We had Venom, who was on Atlanta last year. Mothel sort of like floated in and out. At he was the specialist on a few different maps. And then King was on. It was like, I mean, for me, Odyssey has always been. I mean, I don't know if the boys feel this way, but Odyssey's always been like a. I hate to say this, but like a big family. They've known each other for forever, so there's like a lot of camaraderie and respect. So it's I don't know, it feels very, very familial, and it's like it's a very, very nice tight knit group. Yeah.
Oh, there's something I wanted to add. So
Mhm.
when we actually got this roster on, so we obviously had Dove, and what like the team was coming from, like the organization, they really wanted to build an American roster early on because we didn't want to have like go through visa issues next year or like have this like uncertainty of like rosters till like really close to the season. So we wanted to build a core early on, and even when we signed the guys, I told them that, you guys will be here for next year, blah, 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 blah. But we originally offered Vulcan because we really wanted to build like a friendship team where what we felt was like if you are friends with them, even if you're going through tough times, and I knew that they were going to go through tough times, I want to get better together and do well together. So we originally offered Vulcan, but then Vulcan, because of his personal issues, could not join at the time, which we were very sad about, and we had to explore other options. But yeah, we're really glad this year he's able to join the squad.
For sure. Now,
Yeah.
Empress, you in particular, was it just like a shoe-in for you? Like, was that going to be the core that got you into the Overwatch League?
Oh no. I mean, my goal wasn't actually to get into OWL. As silly as that sounds, because I feel like everybody's goal is to like, oh, I want to go to OWL, I want to compete. For me, the joy that I get from, well, it's two parts, I would say. I really enjoy the game, like strategically and thinking about the game. It's I don't know, it's just very, very interesting to me. And the other part is helping people. And like so I think that that's why I do what I do. It wasn't really something I considered, and my personal goal was just to help as many people as I can, and you know, help my team and always try to improve on myself. So it kind of came as a surprise when when everything happened. It really, really, really did. So yeah.
That sounds like you didn't exclusively do this Overwatch thing before, right? Did you do anything else?
Uh, well, I was a grad student. You know, I worked, I guess you could say, in real life. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily something that I had my heart set on. It was something that it was more than a hobby. It was definitely a passion, but it wasn't necessarily like an end goal of mine. So like I would have been honestly perfectly happy to continue fostering you know, like T2 talent because of the way that the current state of, I would say, like the Overwatch you know, the game is, and how there's just a lack of T2 talent that's supplementing the T1 talent. It's like everyone, you know, it's all the talented players have been bled dry, and there needs to be new and up and comers to sort of like fill in those ranks when, I don't know, people retire or that sort of thing. So like it wasn't something that I actively thought about, but well, I guess the boys sort of rallied around, and yeah.
We dragged Empress on. We like the structure on Odyssey better, so
You mean the
that's
lack of
kinda,
structure?
well, lack of, but you know, I don't
Their
know. It's
own
just,
structure. It's very
yeah,
they have
we
their
have our
own
own
structure.
style,
Yeah.
and Empress fits in really well with it. So that's why we wanted her very badly on the team.
Did you guys then make the suggestion to Vala?
Yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure.
think it was
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
air
For the
both
exact same
ways,
reason, but
definitely though.
We played our politics pretty good, as some could say. We played them pretty good, and we got what we
Yeah.
wanted.
At the end of the season, I usually do one-on-ones with the players, about an hour, to talk about like the season, what do they want change for next year, if they want to rejoin, stuff like that. And like every player that I talked to was like hard vouching for Empress, saying like, Avala, Empress is the GOAT, you have to bring her
Oh
on,
my
like she
goodness.
fits into our structure so well, she's insanely smart, like you need to do this, like trust us, blah 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 blah. So yeah, that's pretty much how Empress got on, but Empress is being really humble. She was actually offered by a lot of teams, and you know, we had to fight for her way to be here. But I'm definitely glad she joined the boys and building a team
Yeah.
environment around it.
Do you remember our conversation when you told me this, Savala? I was like blindsided. I think I was like speechless for like 5, 10 seconds. Like
Yeah, I
it was
remember.
like I was just like, what? Like it was, yeah, it caught me by surprise. Um, but no, like I don't have any regrets because you know, I care, and for these you know, for the guys collectively a lot, and I know that their heart's in it, and it yeah, like there isn't a single person who doesn't, you know, care about each other and like want to do better for themselves, and as a team, as players. So I'm happy to help encourage that when I can.
So you were taken a little bit by that offer. How long did it take you to give an answer?
Am I allowed to talk about the time frame of Allah, or is
The
that?
time frame, yes. The money, probably no.
Oh no, not that, but it was more like, so as I understand it from what it was relayed to me, there was a bit of a, a deadline. So when Avala approached me, she was just like, "Hey, they really want you. However, the org gave me a deadline." And I was like, the deadline, I believe, oh my goodness, it was
It
at
was
grand
like,
finals. I was
yeah.
freaking the F out at grand finals. I was like, guys, like I remember I'm driving back from KBBQ with, the guys on Odyssey at that point in time, and I'm like, guys, okay, I have to go back to the hotel room and I have to get in a call with the Vala, so can we like make it back really, really quick so I have my Wi-Fi? It was like this whole operation. But yeah, wait, was that when I rode in Dove's car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
driving.
I was a safe driver, guys. I can vouch. I can vouch.
And honestly, the
I'm
whole
just the best.
reason why we had to have like a certain deadline, because we did reach out to Empress like super early. It was like start of October, if I remember correctly. And we had to do that deadline because the players, as you would know, the players need to know whether they're going to be signed to their plus ones or whether they're going to be not signed to their plus ones by a week after grand finals, I think it was. And it's really hard to make those decisions without the head coach input. So although we generally had an idea of who we wanted to keep and who we didn't want to keep based on our end of season one-on-ones, we really needed that head coach input. So we kind of gave her a deadline like a week before that deadline so that we can at least, see like how she is at. And if she rejects, then we have to go with another coach. Then we have to listen to their opinions as well. So that's why like the deadline thing came apart.
For sure. Like,
Wait, I thought I joined with I don't think I had any. It was just like, this is the roster and you're joining. I do not remember having a conversation about that, but
Who she wanna?
No, like if we don't sign you,
Oh,
then we
fine.
have a, different type of head coach, and then we have to discuss like which players we want to keep on and stuff like that.
okay. Oh, I didn't
If
realize.
you were gonna
Okay.
come on, we were definitely gonna keep the Odyssey players because if we're not gonna
Oh,
keep the Odyssey players, then why are we signing? It just didn't make sense.
makes sense, yeah. So, okay, let me run through that scenario again. So you had grand finals, you get told this. Somehow in there was Dove's car. Did you guys discuss that? Like, did they push you to you say yes, or was there any
I showed
discussion?
up last second.
There was some
yeah,
talk.
yeah. There
I wasn't
definitely
coming for 2 days.
was. I was kind of freaking out. I had no idea what to say, and the guys were all like, they knew, because I'm pretty candid about this sort of thing. I was just like, hey, this is my situation. Like, what's gonna happen if I don't sign? What's gonna happen if I do sign? Like, I talked about it with them, and I remember specifically Rock was like, don't sign if you don't want to. Like, we'll be okay. But I don't know. I guess the peer pressure won out. No, I don't have regrets about the decision. I think my heart is okay with it. I know that there's like a lot of work to be done, and I do know that the public perception of us is what it is. But all I can say is that I know that where we start, I hope isn't where we end up, and I know that everyone will try very, very hard to show personal growth as players and as a team. And yeah.
Right, let's get into that then. I think like the public has some data points that leaked in some way, or like were hard results in terms of like the US trials, even though I'm not sure how serious you guys took it. Then some scrim codes leaked, and ever since then, like there is some mimification around the Eternal going on. How did you guys receive this?
Well, I mean, any publicity is just good publicity. You got to keep getting our name out there. It doesn't matter. If they think we're bad, like it only means that we can go up from there. Like we're the underdogs now.
Sure.
I like that better. I like that better than everyone being like, I don't know. I like it better.
We've made good underdog runs in the past, so
Yeah.
Is that the
team.
narrative? I see.
I mean, to be
I
fair,
think so.
a team that everyone had rated probably either last or second to last, did pretty well in NA last year, right? In sixth
Yeah,
place.
yeah, understandable.
All right, like,
But yeah.
yeah, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say like it's that the World Cup thing is like I know there was like a lot of buzz around that, but I mean, we just kind of they utilized it as an opportunity just to sort of play. Like I don't think any of us really took it that seriously. It was like I didn't even like I know I wasn't. I think there was like one of the days I wasn't even there or something like that. But anyways, it was just like some comps that we like never run before and we decided to play on maps. It's just like, oh, I wonder how like this comp works, and it's just like sort of just trying stuff out. But yeah, in hindsight, of course, maybe such a public, I guess, competition wasn't the best idea to sort of, try things out and like have fun. Because yeah, it's if anything, that just really showed us how much under scrutiny it was, and people just like to, I don't know why, but people just like to sort of pick on like the underdog. It's just like instead of being positive and supportive and what have you, it's like just, oh, they did this one terrible thing, or they have this bad result and they like to fixate on it, and then it is what it is. So yeah.
Does losing against Samito sting in particular, or is it just whatever?
It burns.
It doesn't sting. Samito's a good player. I don't know why people are hating on him. Samito's good. You know, he played in Contenders. He played
But
May.
He's better than
Feels good.
Knuckle.
Their
we still
team's
meme
good.
about
We
it
just,
though.
we obviously shouldn't
Yeah.
lose to them. Their team was good there, so.
Yeah.
So
We
Samito's
for
good.
example, if we went beat a certain team in like scrims, it would say Samito better than this player, you know?
That's true. Samito is better than a lot. If we're using that data point, Samito is better than a lot of different teams in Al. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
think this is Samito's like a chance for Al. Just saying.
Interesting. Okay, so generally speaking, of course, like once again, a little under 72 hours until start of the Pro AM. Now, not like we've interviewed a bunch of teams. I got the idea that, or the impression that the higher the team usually ranks, like in projected preseason power rankings, the less seriously they take this tournament. Where do you guys fall? Like, do you want to win this, or what is your general approach to this tournament?
I don't know about for the guys, but I feel like just basically taking the pro-am as an opportunity to sort of test our voice. So, like, sort of trying to find our place within, because the meta is like there is no necessarily like a hard meta. Teams are just kind of running various different things. There's different. Oh gosh, I swear, like in basically like every team is running something different, and just there is really no set set meta. I know that I think in Contenders, or I think the teams that were making the pro-am run in T2, there was like a lot of brawl that was going on. So we're basically using it as an opportunity to sort of practice certain comps and like work on basically team synergy, adaptability, and like all the foundational stuff. But like that's for me personally and what I want to see, and just like growth and improvement in those areas. But I think the guys can probably answer for themselves too.
We're definitely trying. I'm definitely trying.
You're
know,
sweating.
I've been getting shit talked on Twitter. That echo clip.
Oh,
I got all
yeah.
these clips, man. I 1-12 on Sojourn. I wasn't actually 1-12. I was like 3-8. They don't know how to read the stats. I had one final blow.
One final blow.
One final blow, not one a limb. One final blow. So they know how to read the stats because they're dumb. But I don't know. I feel like I got something to prove mechanically. I got something to prove. So I'm definitely gonna go out there and just try my ball sack off.
And we won't lie, like we were testing some stuff out. Like a couple weeks ago, we were honestly doing really bad, and I think that's when some scrim codes got leaked, and people were like shit talking us over it. But afterwards, when we were actually playing to our strength and we were doing well, we were like beating a lot of the teams people wouldn't believe that we were beating. And yeah, I think I don't know. I think the underdog, like people expecting us to be bad, is also sometimes a good thing because when they start losing to us, people tend to tilt or people tend to get upset.
Yeah, they're showing all our lows, like none of our highs.
Yeah.
Like all the scrims
Okay.
that got leaked were the worst scrims in the world.
Oh, they
Like,
were though. They
The
legitimately
scrims
were.
that we won don't get leaked, but the scrims that we lost to like a Contenders team, they just get out there, and I'm like,
Wait,
dude, come on.
I wonder if like for some reason I wonder if like one of the ones that got leaked was just like when we hadn't played a specific combo. No, we were trying something out, like we just
Yeah.
like running, and it was
That's
like
Reaper versus the Hanzo. Like,
yeah, like just it
Yeah.
makes like a no sense because you wanted to see something specific,
Or, like,
or maybe yeah.
I remember one of the blocks that got leaked was when we were doing triple block for the first time to see if like the guys can mentally take a triple block, and we did not take a triple block. We were like fried by the start of like third block that they could not physically mentally do it.
Yeah, it's all propaganda. The narrative's just wrong. You know, we could leak a bunch of scrims and it make the narrative change maybe, but
I mean, that's
the
what
trick.
it is.
That's the
It's a
trick.
narrative,
That's the
right?
trick, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's propaganda.
It's OPR now,
We don't-
though.
Honestly, I'm happy to have this narrative. I want to be the horrible team, and then we're gonna come in and do super well. So raise expectations and the
True.
actual officials.
I agree with Luke here.
True, I'm with Luke.
With our dictator.
Still has the title.
Now, okay, so you guys mentioned you weren't playing your stronger comps yet. What is the ideal meta like for you guys to pop off? Is it like one of those metas where everyone can play everything and you can play your signature, and because it's a little bit out there, like you can catch people off guard, or is there a particular meta you feel strong in? Like what is it?
Bet brig, Genji Sigma.
Just fake double shield. Just get rid of the
Fake
rest of
double
them and we're good.
You
I like
know,
comps where players can like live for a long time while still getting individual value. Sometimes it's hard for us to immediately set up plays, but we're figuring out ways to make it work.
Live for a long time. Live being the operative word.
Yep.
Get
Love
out
being
jail free
alive.
cards.
Vulcan, we we have heard like from a couple of other tanks that have to cover the entire roster that they don't particularly like ball. How are you feeling on ball?
Ball is just you're drunk driving or you're a god at him. So it's just you have to learn him a lot. I understand their pain.
Is it something that you think a lot of teams should generally avoid unless they already have a specialist?
I don't think you have to avoid it, but there's like a lot of setups and just like techs that you have to learn, and it's just requires a lot of playtime on. And if it's not like hard meta, you aren't going to learn a lot of them fast enough for it to matter.
Makes sense, yeah. Now, on paper, you guys have one of the harder groups. Reason being, like, you have the only group where, there's 4 Overwatch League teams. Granted, I think, like, there is an argument to be made that also those teams are not necessarily totally, like, the best in the, all of ours. So they somehow seem to have, eloed that out in some way. How do you think, generally speaking, like, how does your group compare to the other ones?
I think we got the strongest Contenders team, and like
Yeah,
this is my
Saints is
power
good.
rankings, but Atlanta, like they're
Yeah,
probably top 3.
Atlanta's the best.
They're the GOAT, man. They're actually the GOAT.
I personally just don't even know what any of the other groups are.
Yeah,
It
same.
doesn't affect me at this point. We just gotta win our group and move forward.
Makes
Good
sense.
answer, Rec.
What do you guys think in general of the Contenders teams? You guys said like you guys got the strongest Contenders team. Is that Saints? If I'm
Yeah.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, they have former OWL players on that team. I think I've coached them at like one point or another, and like I just we all kind of know each other, and I think that they have like a really strong roster. Like, and the results of from the pro-am qualifiers, I guess, were pretty expected. Like, I'm really, and yeah, like I actually, like, that's the other part. I think that I hope that people will be surprised, or maybe they won't be, but I think they'll do really, really well as well. But in regards to us, um I mean, I'll be happy to take a map. Like, okay, that just makes me sound like I don't believe in you guys. That's the exact opposite. But
Messed
like,
up. That's
no,
messed
no,
up.
no, no, no. Like
Way
in
to
terms
win.
of like if we win the stuff that we're like win the fights that we're going to and we like actually like worked on what we like have been practicing, I think like I will be happy with that because that's growth and improvement in my book. But I think it's also good to have obviously like the higher standards, and I always the W is the goal. So yeah, I just like mentally we want to be I don't want to get sucked into the mental black hole. Like like especially last season, it was so taxing for them. I felt horrible. It's hard to get yourself out of. And I think like Maple said, I think when now we're like climbing out of it, I don't want us to have a relapse back into it,
I feel like
So
that's a mentality that I heard from Christopher before the London season, where he basically said like, guys, let's be honest, we know what our resources are, we know what we're generally judged as. Like every win we get is just like a big bonus, and then they just built on that mentality of coming from behind, and I think also a lot of their guys had a pretty rough season, not least on ping, right? And they had a pretty big bounce back in that regard, right? So, but okay, I'm generally also interested because I mean you guys have a lot of scrimming experience now. Are there any either Contenders teams or OWL teams where you say like, okay, the community is really not hyping them enough, and like even for the Pro Am where like they should probably look at those guys more?
Washington, they're pretty. They've been pretty well against us and supposedly
Yeah.
against other teams. So people are not hyping that. They're hating on Ben Best. Ben Best is not bad. Ben Best is not
wait,
bad.
what?
He's actually good.
Who's hating on
Twitter.
Best
Not
and why?
hating.
Oh.
Twitter
Not
doesn't
hating,
like
but
Ben Best.
necessarily like downplaying that they're gonna do bad or like not as good. And I've even seen comments like, Alpha is being wasted on that roster kind of thing. But I definitely think they're the big underdogs for this pro am. Like their team
course.
synergy or their like
Yeah.
tempo, like all of those things are really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, like
They're pretty
man,
well
why
put
do
together.
people like to
Yeah.
hate? What the heck?
They're pretty well put together, I think is the best way to put it. So
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
yeah, have to use. I guess you can use the hate to, like light a fire under your asses. But damn, people are vicious online.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree with Mato. Which other teams are getting hype, or which teams aren't getting hype? I don't know.
So I think like if you just go by perceptional power rankings, I think like Shock and Atlanta are in their own tier.
Yeah.
And then it would be probably Houston third.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, Houston's
Toronto is getting a lot of
solid.
hype. I think they
Yeah.
like most people think like top 5 in A. I think that Glads is probably a little bit because of their Scrimleaks. They're
Yeah.
getting it a little bit.
Like Contenders teams.
What's
I
your
actually think Houston is pretty good. Houston was like one of the hardest team we faced, I think, along
They
with
have
Atlanta.
they have a really sort of like a explosive style. Explosive is the wrong word, but like very I don't want to leak
No
anything, but
downtime. No downtime. They have no downtime.
yes, it's a lot of it's just very high tempo, I would say. And they will look to punish any little mistake that you made. So it was, I had a fun block watching it. But yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot of it'll be really interesting, especially with not having any sort of set meta, to see how different teams, the different comps that teams will play, how other teams might adapt. Because oh my goodness, like I said, there's so many different sort of variations, and the smallest deviation can just like result in a big difference. So I think it'll be very interesting in the programs. But yeah, we'll find out, I suppose.
What about teams with a pretty, like I feel like in profile, especially like Titans and London seem pretty alike in the setup they have, like pretty mean and lean rosters. Also like this sort of like maybe mild underdog. Like, of course, London is hype from last season, but I think they like if you ask people to do power rankings, a lot of them would say NA leveled up a lot because of a lot of APAC talent coming over. So can they really do it again? And then also, I think like Titans or the former Boston Uprising, you have to say, have a chip on their shoulder. So how do you guys feel like they are doing? Like, would you be surprised if they made it far in the Pro-Am?
I wouldn't be surprised. They could punch up.
Yeah, I would agree
I
with
think
that.
they're all-
London will probably do pretty well. Their play style is consistent, so if teams are ever lost on what they're gonna do, London will always know what they're doing. So
What about Contenders teams? Okay, we heard Saints. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's also like generally, if I have the community right, I think they understand that. Is there any other team that the folks should look towards?
Yeah,
Not
Trick
big.
Room.
Trick Room, yeah.
Trick
We're
room.
Trick Room fans.
They're gonna eat up Shock. I'm calling it now. They're gonna eat up Shock. I'm not even trolling. Watch. They're gonna eat up Shock. You know.
No, but I do believe it. Trick Room is like super well like oriented. They're especially Magic Maple. The amount of visual aggro he takes for the team and just actually wins the team fights is crazy. I'm a huge Magic Maple fan, if you can't tell.
probably go.
I personally think that like honestly like all these Contenders teams got like a really good shot. I remember the first time because it's like they come from like different. I don't want to say regions, but like a lot of Owl teams scrim and stuff. And then we scrim a Contenders team. They pull out that Rhine Bash and stuff that they're running in like the Pro-Am qualifiers. We've never played against that. We get destroyed like first time. Like you have to learn like what's going on. First time we scrim like the Korean teams who have been scrimming, they come over, destroy us on new comps we've never seen. Like these Owl teams, if they're not ready, they're definitely gonna feel it.
And I think Contenders teams are like actually set up for success because they don't really have a number of limitation on players they can have. Like they can have like a off tank for off tank meta, main tank for main tank meta. Whereas I feel like a lot of the out teams are, I mean, some teams have a bigger roster, but quite a lot of the teams are like bounded by 5-man rosters or having one tank do the whole tank pool. And I think that could be pretty hard coming in and going up against Contenders teams.
Sweet. That sounds like
that's-
yeah. Go on.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a fair point. I actually didn't realize that the Contenders teams didn't have those sort of restrictions.
I got everything to gain and nothing to lose. Insane
Yeah.
for mental.
Yep. That can be our mindset too. It's the perfect mindset.
Fair enough. Then we take that as the mantra for the next season, and wish you the best of luck in the Pro-Am. And then also, of course, the best of luck in preparing for the regular season. Thank you for the interview, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Thank you so
Bye.
much.